What's up, guys? It is Will here, back again for another episode of Collectors Mingle every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, coming at you with an Avengers level panel. Guys, we got some great topics on the docket. Clone Wars Obi-Wan. Great or good enough, or maybe not even that, according to Mr. Kiko. I guess we're going to find out from this panel tonight. Number one posing tip for Hot Toys Collector. We got the posing master on here, Mr. 1/6 scale man, or quarter scale man, if you will. We're going to talk about that. Is InArt starting to win collectors over with that Aragorn, possibly the release of that Joker? Do we typically buy deluxe or premium versions over standard versions? We're also going to talk about shopping Hot Toys deals and some other stuff that I don't want to spoil just yet. So stay tuned. Let's get coming at you right around the corner. Let's do it. Yo, what is up, guys? We got an Avengers level panel for you guys this evening. And of course, it's going to be an awesome show with a lot of great topics. And I see a lot of great comments already, and we're going to get to those. But before we do that, let's address our amazing panel. We got Mr. Ben Thomas at the Ben Thomas Show. Ben, you're showing us up, bro, with your RGB lighting, with your awesome iMac, with your muscles. I mean, I don't know how much more you could flex on us, bro. So how you doing, man?
Dude, I'm so good. Thanks for having me. This is the temporary setup I was telling you backstage. I've finally kind of set up my recording studio in the Ben Thomas Show here. It's a more permanent setup now. What's behind me is going to change a little bit over time, you'll see. But thanks for having me, as always. It's good to see you guys. Leal, Dean, Will, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to the chat as well. Good to see everybody in the panel. And I do think we should clear one thing up, because I had about 12 separate people, I'm not kidding, ask me the other day if Dean is really 43.
I asked him before the show, so make it another one.
He's not. He's not. Just so everybody knows.
He doesn't look it at all. So, yeah. Zach convinced everybody, bro. Zach convinced everyone that Dean was 43.
Everybody. So it's cleared up now. It's on the record.
It's hilarious, bro. It's hilarious. But yeah, great to have you, Ben. Thanks for joining, bro. And like I said, love the setup, man. Looks really, really clean and nice back there. So anyway, Leal, Mr. 1/6 scale, man. How you doing this evening, bro?
How you doing, bro? It's like I'm on a marathon today, man. Like literally, that's what it feels like. Woke up today. We did Collectors Lounge. I did Casca's show with him. And then I had to do Take Your Position came back today. We had fun there, and now I'm here with you, bro. Like, so it's a marathon. Like, literally.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that sounds like quite a marathon. Yeah, it does sound like a marathon, bro. What's that? So 3 streams in one day? 4?
This would be my 4th one today, bro.
Damn, that's a marathon, bro.
Like, literally, it was a busy day. I didn't anticipate it being that busy, but I forgot that I told Costa that I would do a show. I was like, oh shit, I forgot. So yeah, it's busy.
I'd be out, bro. I'd be like asleep by the 4th show. I'd be like, no way, man. Yeah, man. But thanks for being here, Leal. I appreciate it, bro. I know the chat always appreciates your presence and insights, man. So it's going to be a blast. But we got to address the 43-year-old in the panel, Mr. Dean the Dream. How you doing, Dean? Mr. 43/34.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, man. Happy to be here. I always love getting a message from Will. And he's like, "Hey, can you join on Sunday?" I'm like, "Bro, say less."
That's why I love you, Dean. Because you bring the fire, you bring all the heat and the hot takes, but you also bring the charisma and the charm and the good looks for a 43-year-old.
Yeah, my not always popular opinions.
No, you are, man. You're always popular here. I know that.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course, man.
Happy New Year. Leal, always.
Happy New Year, bro.
Thank you.
New Year, brother.
Ben, I see Ben all the time.
Yeah,
so.
no, I was like, don't forget Ben, bro. Don't forget Ben. Okay?
He's getting sick of me at this point.
Yeah,
I know. Right? Little sick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
What's up, chat? How you guys doing?
See, Dean the Dream, the ladies' man with Jabba the Hutt tongue. So he's see, there he is. It shows up every now and then. Guys, let's address this wonderful chat real quick, and we'll jump into our first topic. Mr. Xander, hey, I think I rewatched Will's Aragorn video like 8 times. I kept laughing at all the details about his retainer. Yeah, there were 2 retainers. I just popped them out of my mouth right before the Aragorn preview, and I was like, let's just do this shit. So that's what I did for the people. But man, I'm so hyped for that figure. Can't believe it. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. Tukathri, InArt Aragorn for the win. Indeed, bro. Indeed. Renz Talentino. Good evening, everyone. Blue Tattoo. See, we're getting a lot of comments on Aragorn. Thalia Meyer said Aragorn. I'm really tempted this time. Great Lord of the Rings fan. Couldn't resist Gandalf so far. But damn, I will not be dragged into this rabbit hole. Yeah, Thalia, we're going to talk about that. And I could share this. I was sharing it with Carlos. is like kind of behind the scenes thing. I'm not sure where the number's at now, but on a YouTube, you can look at your analytics for videos, and there's something called a CTR. For people who aren't familiar, it's called a click-through rate. So the amount of people that see your video, your thumbnail, and actually click it. A normal one may be between like maybe 3, 5. A really good video might be 7. Aragorn was 14%.
Wow.
So that just goes to show you like how good that head sculpt is, Lael, that people saw the picture on my thumbnail and was like, and clicked it like almost a way more frequently than they do any other video. Like twice as much. So it goes to show you like how good that head sculpt is, honestly. Feezy's Figures. What's up, Feezy? What's up, Javier? What's up, Collecting Crew? Hope you're all having a good weekend. Xander said, I resisted Gandalf, Joker Batman. Will's talk about us retaining the $10 discount code convinced me. There we go, Xander. All right, Feezy Figures again. Good for Health. Doug Collector. Charles Rubel. What's up? Dockinator the Booty King. Time to move.
Yeah.
That is the Booty King. Josh McCoy Culture. What's up, Josh? How you doing, bro? Got to have you on here at some point. Safeful. Dingleberry. Mr. Mom Collectibles. What's up, Mr. Mom? Hey, everyone. Looking forward to the stream tonight. Yeah, man. Me too. Me too, man. OG Mando, Mike Fraley with the caps lock. I felt a tingle in my stomach and knew it was time to mingle, or maybe I'm just hungry. Can you pass me some breadsticks? Yeah, bro. I'll pass you some, some breadsticks through the computer. Ben Thomas Show is here himself. AJ Agarusa, the channel member, thanks so much. AJ Philip, the full channel member, thanks so much. 2K3, Hardcore Candy. Sean Bean, thanks so much, bro. Appreciate you. S-Beam. I always call him Sean Bean. Dion Bandola, good to see you, Dion. 2K3, 6 Scale Collector. Doom Lego, what is up? What is up? Some guy, Philip the Fool, what's up? Awesome panel. Yeah, man, absolutely. DT Art Man, Nathan Alker, good to see you, Nathan. Good to see you, man. Dion Bandola, let's see here. Benjamin Green, channel member, thanks so much. Will, the entire panel. Happy Sunday to all. Thanks so much. Shiny, good to see you, bro. Fellow nerds, absolutely. Lael, the hardest working man on YouTube. Yeah, man, with 4 streams in one day, I'd say so. Brandon Salad. What is up, Brandon? We were talking today actually about film. Really excited about that. Feezy's Figures. Yeah, man, absolutely. Duck Collector. Chasen. What is up, bro? I'm glad we got to chat the other day. Kiki Sphincter. Yomo. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. What's up? Chris Santos. Dinesh Theagaraja, the channel member. Thanks so much, Dinesh. Let's see. Nathan said already pre-ordered Kenobi and Aragorn. Nice, bro. Nice choices. Ruben Gomez. King Dingaling, the man himself. See, he's here for Ben. He's here for Ben. There you go. And Dean.
And Dean, yeah.
Yeah, see?
The dream, yeah.
Ben and Dream. Yep, absolutely. Quite enough. Let's see here. My brother doesn't collect 1/6 figures, but just pre-ordered the new Aragorn. Wow. See? Good to show you how good that head sculpt is, bro. Barrett, King Dingaling, Justin McFly, Tyria, Nick's Collectibles, the man with the mustache. They call him the Rat King. Good to see you, Nick. And the photographer. Joe Geista, good to see you. Good for Health. Accidentally plug spec in Kit's group, LMAO. Hey, no worries, bro. Shit happens. Joe said need that Aragorn now. Yep, we're going to talk about it. But before we get into that, guys, let's talk about something else. This was super exciting for a lot of people. The Clone Wars Obi-Wan. I want to ask you guys, is it great or is it good enough? And some people might say it's not even good enough, right? But $279, I ran a poll on this one, and they keep trying to advertise me Ahsoka, but I'm not looking at Ahsoka right now. So that said, they keep, with this one, with the Obi-Wan, I know a lot of people, Leo, I want to start with you. A lot of people are really excited about this one. I heard a couple, maybe people were like, this isn't really that good. Kiko, Mr. King of Hot Takes, came in and was like, this isn't good enough. It's not a Ewan McGregor. But I ran a poll, Leo, and most people seem to be pretty excited about this head sculpt. I think it's maybe in the range of like, for some, Mace Windu, where it's like a pretty good head sculpt, maybe not as great as we hoped it would be, but it's the character that we've always wanted. It's Obi-Wan in Clone Wars, and we're really excited about it. So, Leo, what do you think, man, with this figure? Are you satisfied with what you're seeing so far?
I am. I'm definitely satisfied because it's definitely a step up. I mean, look, I don't honestly, bro, to me, and this is just my opinion, there is no such thing as a super, super perfect head sculpt. Even and it's going to be unpopular, and I'm just going to say this, is that once we get to the figure, I'll just say why. The Aragorn is dope. It is probably the closest to a 10 that you're going to actually get as far as a figure. But nothing is always perfect. There are some things that might miss the mark. It may not be the head sculpt. It may be something in the tailoring. It's going to always be something that might slightly miss the mark that may not always be there. This, I wasn't expecting it to be, a home run, but it is far above what we actually got with that, Revenge of the Sith version of Obi-Wan. It definitely is. It's 10 times better than that head sculpt to me. Also is better than what we got from the Obi-Wan television show. But again, it's I would actually say it's between an 8.5 out of 9, in a 9, 8.5 and a 9 out of a 10 to me. But that's what I'm saying. Like, nothing is actually 100% perfect, but for what we got and for what we're getting, I'm extremely excited about it. I love, this piece, everybody's wanted. And then on top of that, because it does have that 20th anniversary logo on it, that just lets us know that we're going to get more from this line, and I'm excited about it. So again, everybody's wanted it. They wanted to actually have this piece in their collection, and you'll finally get it. You know what I mean? Especially next to Anakin, to have that Clone Wars Anakin, it's definitely gonna look like a really good piece. If you get the clean version of the clones, once you get a couple of those to actually have with this piece, it's going to be incredible. So again, I mean, is everything going to be 100% perfect when it comes to this piece? No. But I think they did a damn good job with improvement. It's a vast improvement from what we've got previously, from this version of Ewan McGregor, which is it. You know what? It's just like, yo, how can you get that wrong? Like, what is so tough about it? If you can get, Alec Guinness good, and then we know that they're really, really good with older sculpts. If you can get Reva good, as far as that head sculpt, that is one of the best head sculpts I've seen. You know what I mean? There's a couple of them out there that you can do it. Like, how are you getting Ewan McGregor wrong? Is it the mustache that's giving you a problem? Is it? I don't really know. I wonder if he's asking, how the fuck are y'all getting me wrong? I don't know. Like, how do you think whatever? But I mean, for what we actually get from this piece, I definitely think in my opinion, it's worth it. It would be worth it for anyone to have it in their collection, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's definitely what it is.
Yeah, I see what you mean, bro. Absolutely, man. And for like the Clone Wars fans, which there are many of them out there, I would say that this is one of those figures that people have been waiting on for a long, long time. And when it just popped up out of nowhere, people were like, finally, bro. So I mean, it's, and Leo, I mean, to be fair, like you said, like the Revenge of the Sith head sculpt is not perfect either.
At all.
The proto was. The proto for Revenge of the Sith, I was like, damn, that thing was great. But then the final product, it's not terrible, but I wasn't happy with it.
But
and
that's the thing is, it's like, this is definitely a step above those head sculpts like that. Again, I'm hoping that they learn a lesson, and I think they will, because that's exactly what they did with this. When we first seen this from the prototype, they actually had that Revenge of the Sith head sculpt on it. You know what I mean? It was the same one. So we've seen that, now they changed it up. We're finally getting this piece. They probably held off specifically because they were going into the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones. Clone Wars. I'm sorry. So that would have actually made sense. But again, for what we got, I like it. I think it's good, and it's all built off of perception. Everybody's going to have their own interpretation. If you see some of the head sculpts that we actually got from this piece, especially with the RO technology, with the PERS, I think they did a good job, bro. Yeah. Literally, I think they did.
I think so too, bro. And I want to jump to Dean on this one. Dean, I'm not sure how big of a fan you are of the Clone Wars, but I want to ask you, bro, how are you feeling about this Obi-Wan head sculpt? You feeling positive, negative, sort of indifferent? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I love the Clone Wars. This figure, as it sits, pretty dang good. Now, I am confused. They have it as the 20th anniversary of Clone Wars, but Clone Wars came out in 2008. The 2D animated Clone Wars is the one that came out in 2003. This Obi-Wan is like an amalgamation of both versions of Obi-Wan, because he does not wear the cape in Clone Wars, as far as I remember, the 3D one. But he does wear a brown cloak with full clone armor in the 2D one. So it's like, it doesn't really know what it wants to be. That being said, it looks phenomenal, because you could just take the cape off, I'm assuming, and have Clone Wars 2008 with your Clone Wars Anakin. It's going to look phenomenal. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I've been looking. I cannot find a screenshot of 3D Obi-Wan with this cape on. But that's my only really real complaint with this figure. And I guess with Hot Toys, it's like, well, what 20th anniversary are you celebrating here? Because this ain't it.
So, and that was my question. Do you think that and that was in the beginning, it's like, do you think that they kind of slid this in just to kind of ramp up the hype for that? Because you're right, like that version of it was 2003, but in that version, this wasn't the one that was in that particular version. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't. So I'm wondering if they just slid it in there to say, okay, cool, this is going to be, what you'll get. This is what you'll get, for that. We'll kind of like use this as a flagship type of situation for.
I mean, that
what's
would be
to come.
cool
Yeah.
to get like another version later that's like a different representation. Hopefully not just the same figure with more stuff and you screw the people out buying this one. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's weird. I'm excited to see where they go with this line if they keep doing the Clone Wars line. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think I have zero problem. Actually, I think they've done really well in every Obi-Wan head sculpt. I know a lot of people didn't like episode 3. I think the prototype was better than the final one, but I still have no problem with the final one. So this one to me is still pretty good, but I'm also a sucker for Obi-Wan. So,
no, it's understandable, bro. We all have our characters and,
Yeah. So this is really cool. And I know a lot of people didn't pick up Anakin because they never announced this. And now that they have announced it, people are picking up Anakin. So that's cool to see. But that's going to be a badass display. So I'm tempted. I'm like, because I have episode 3 Obi and Anakin already. So I'm like, do I want a second display? And I think I might pull the trigger.
Well, maybe, Dean, it's kind of a matter of like, like you said, it's an amalgamation of different like Clone Wars looks. Maybe it's kind of like how they've done with realistic head sculpts. Like they didn't really go animated for Clone Wars. They kind of make it both, right?
Yeah. So he does the outfit other than the cape is from 2008. And there is an episode where he wears the helmet. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
But oh shit, what was I about to say? Oh my god,
it's a 44-year-old brain, bro.
Oh, I was gonna say the only time I could find this particular outfit is the what's the statues from Sideshow,
that
Mythos?
that
Mythos,
Mythos priest,
is a Mythos statue, and I'm like, did they just go off the Mythos? Like that's such a weird thing to do.
I think that's what they did. Because the Mythos statue had the cape and the actual helmet as well, and it looks like they just took it from that.
Yeah. But I think even the logo is different in Clone Wars. So it's like, what is this? It's so
Before
confusing.
I jump to Ben, do you guys think anyone's going to use the helmet for this? Like, is it like are people going to display it that way?
I'm not.
I don't
Yeah, I would think probably not, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, probably
I mean,
not.
it's cool for maybe like a photo or two, but in display, I think Obi-Wan is. You gotta show.
Yeah,
his
you want
face.
the head sculpt. Yeah. It's kind of like I guess a different type of example, but similar is like the third-party soldier boys, like the ones with actually the helmet, the mask on or whatever. Like you're probably never going to use that, right? You really want him, unmasked. That's kind of how he was most of the show. But anyway, Ben, what do you think, bro, about this Obi-Wan Kenobi? I'm not sure how big of a Clone Wars fan you are, but I know there's a lot of excited collectors out there for this.
Yeah, so I didn't want to be a fake fan, so I'm happy Dean was here today because Dean had told me all of those points in our private chat the other day in Messenger, and I was like, wow, like that's a great take. I will not be able to recommunicate that on Will's show on Sunday, so really happy you're here for that one. In terms of the figure itself, the boys at Collecting Weekly, they make fun of me a little bit because every time there's a figure announcement or release, it's always at like 2:00 in the morning. So I'm always in bed when I'm looking at these figures. And I'm laying in bed the other night and I open my phone and there's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And the first picture, you have that feeling where you're like, oh, okay. And you like flip to the next one, you're like, maybe. And you flip to the next one, you're like, okay though, And I did that like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, shit. Because now people are going to ask me what I think about this figure. And I'm like divisively torn on the inside. So I would say that's why for me it's about an 8 or an 8.5.
That's right.
I think that it is good enough. I think that if you're a major Star Wars fan, especially Clone Wars or Kenobi specifically, it might not be exactly what you were hoping for, but I do think it's better than some of the previous iterations we've had.
Yeah.
I like that they go into some of the realism, especially in his skin texturing. You see his mole or whatever that he has on his forehead. I don't think they gave that to us on the Kenobi show, which is a strange omission for a figure because that's part of his face. I've seen them do that with Christian Bale too with his mole, and I'm like, dude, that is a very iconic piece of his face. So you can't leave that out, right? I think at certain angles it looks exactly like Ewan McGregor, and then at other angles, for some reason, it's a little soft. The only challenge I have with the good or good enough statement is I would still rather see a Hot Toys company tackle quality over quantity. If they took more time to bake these in the oven, I think that they would all come out as absolute bangers, similar to the Anakin we just recently saw. Like, that thing looks friggin' awesome. So why aren't they all at the same quality level? Why are we having this kind of roller coaster of quality? Even Mace the other day, like, that's like torn the community in half. It's not bad looking, but it's not perfect either. Like, why aren't these being left in the oven a little longer? And it's because there's so many streaming services now. There's so many shows. There's so many things that these folks need to try and pump out and try and keep up with. Because, I mean, let's be honest, like, we're still waiting on figures, Miss Marvel, for example, stuff like that, like shows that we got months ago that we haven't seen releases from. And as that time clicks by, you know that when they eventually release that figure, people are going to be like, oh, well, I would have got it 7 months ago if that, you know, they released it when the show came out, but because they didn't, I'm probably not going to buy it. But it's that like, you can't win situation, because if they don't underbake these and get them out, people aren't going to buy them. If they overbake them and take too long, people are going to say they forgot about the show already and they've moved on. So it's tricky. I almost wish we could go back to a time with less content, so we get a little more time.
I don't blame.
And let me ask you something, Ben, because you bring up a very good, you know, and this is what we have been saying like previously, is that, you know, when there was less, again, we have more streaming services than we had usually before. You know, I mean, you have so many different platforms. So again, you know, Disney being who they are and actually having that streaming service, you know, they're really, really pushing when it comes to merchandise. We need to get this out. We need to get this out. We need to get this out. So anyone that they actually have these licenses with, they're like, okay, cool. We need to basically push this product. You're going to see a lot more as well, because of the simple fact that, you know, again, you know, the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi is coming up, you know, in April. You know what I mean? So now we're dealing with that, plus the 20th anniversary of of Clone Wars. So that's 2 IPs that they have licenses for that they're going to start, they're going to kick out product. Also, let me ask you a question. Do you think that also our visual has changed? The way we basically see these figures, the way our perception is drawn, it's changed because we are looking at excellent pieces of, you know, of art pieces when it comes to companies like InArt. We see that. So then automatically, okay, our eyes are fixated on that. That's quality. We see that and it happens. We go to Hot Toys and it's like, damn, if there was no competition, we would probably see it different. I'm just wondering if there wasn't any competition, if we weren't looking at pieces like that Aragorn, which is by far, anytime my girl looks at this piece and she asked me if it's Viggo Mortensen, and I'm like questioning myself, like, is that
sure
really
it's not
Viggo Mortensen?
Yeah, I thought it was a movie still when I first
like
saw
literally,
it.
like if I see that, then
100%.
you know this shit is on point, and you know that it basically pushes that needle forward. So of course, when we see that, we're gonna go back and look at this stuff, and it's like, okay, Hot Toys, we know you're capable of giving us product and giving us good product, giving something that's worth it. You know what I mean? So again, I'm glad to see that it is pushing that needle forward, but sometimes they have to admit that there's competition and that they have to basically say, you know what, we need to step up. We do need to actually step up. You know what I mean? Because again, like when I see this, I'm like, I know what the potential, I know that you can do better because you've proven it before. You've had some wins. Like definitely when I saw that, and I have to go back to it when I saw Reva. Yo, that head sculpt is incredible. Casca Reeves, that head sculpt is incredible. So we know that they're capable of actually doing it, but I'm just wondering if our perception has slightly changed a little bit because of the simple fact that we see excellence out of a company that's competition.
I think it does. It also depends on if it's the character that you love most. Like, for example, the InArt Joker. Like, Joker is one of my favorite characters of all time, if not my favorite character of all time. As good as the InArt one even is, I don't know if that would have ever achieved a level of perfection in my mind, because I wanted it to be basically Heath Ledger sitting on my shelf, which is impossible. You know, like, so you can set the bar in your own mind a little high. But I think Reva was a good point. You know, like, that was a great sculpt, at least from what we've seen from the prototype. It looks exactly like her, and it's the right right price point. My
Mhm.
pushback on you there was going to be, well, if they take time and longer to make better looking head sculpts, would they be more expensive like InArt? And then would we
That's
still
good.
buy them because then they're even more expensive than they're starting out
Good
as?
question. Good question.
So then it's like there's that again, that kind of dichotomy of, okay, we need to get it out for time, for it to be present in people's minds, for people to care about it, but it also has to be the right price that people can justify putting in their collection. Especially if like a figure like this, where I want a Kenobi in my collection because I love Star Wars, but I probably only want one Kenobi in my collection. So will this be it?
Would that be the definitive? Would this
Would that
be the
my
definitive
definitive
one?
one?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, got you.
Well,
got
And
that's
for
why-
me, probably not.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Ben. Like, I started me to cut you off, but I was just going to say basically that I think what
sorry.
InArt
No,
has
sorry.
shown, I think what InArt has shown, layout too, as far as like prototypes go, is that, and I will always own this. In the beginning, when InArt was starting out, I was like, I'm not sure people are going to pay these prices. I think they've shown that they will. If you create quality that people just can't ignore, then they will pay those prices. Like if you put this Obi-Wan up and it looked like the quality of the InArt Aragorn, for example, the prototype, people would pay $500 for it.
Yeah,
like
true.
we might bitch a little bit, but we'd be like, well, shit, the quality is amazing. So like this Obi-Wan, it's really not bad. I'm with you guys. But at the end of the day, like, you know, I feel like it's like an 8, like Ben said. I feel like it's like an 8. Like it's good enough where you're like, okay, like if I love Obi-Wan Clone Wars, I'm still gonna get this. But it's not to the point where it's like, man, I'm just fucking amped for this. You know what I mean? Like some people feel that way, and I think that's great. Maybe it's just because I'm not a huge Clone Wars fan. But you know, for example, this head sculpt, it's really pretty good. But at the end of the day, like you said, Leia, we know what Hot Toys is capable of, and we know it can be better than pretty good. Like
But we know
right.
because we've witnessed how good they've been in the past. We know that they've been, you know, and it's just that we're seeing, you know, we're not seeing the consistency that we're used to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like I agree, Ben, I completely agree, because there's way too much content that's dropping right now. Like, I mean, and then consider the simple fact that you have also the simple fact that they've also upped the license on Mando. So now we basically see that Mando 3 is coming. So they have all that stuff that's actually, you know, in the works. It's like, what the hell do we do? Like, you know, and how do they catch up? You know, do they have to hire more people? They have to have like a subdivision or something like that, where they just kind of like, you know, just divvy out, okay, we want you to handle Marvel, we want you to handle Star Wars, we want you to do this, that, and the third. Because I think it's a lot of content that's out there right now, and it's hard for them to, you know, to catch up. Whereas InArt, all they're focusing on right now is Warner Brothers. So they don't have to really do too much of anything else. And they can take their time to give us a certain level of perfection. They gave us a list of figures that they were working on, and we know that's what they're working on right now. Whereas Hot Toys, we don't know what the fuck is coming next. We just know when they drop it or they release it, this is what they're working on. We're like, okay, that's fine. You know what I mean? But if you're going to do that, take your time and give us quality, because we know you're capable of doing it. That way we don't have these discussions where people are like, I see it. I slightly see it. I see it. We talk about Aragorn. Everybody's like, oh, fuck that. That's Viggo Morrison.
Yeah, nobody's
Like
arguing that
100%.
one. Yeah.
Not at all. 100%.
One last thing to say
Yeah.
is it's the good enough part of it that sticks with me in your question, because I think the other challenging issue is not sending Hot Toys mixed messages as collectors or even content creators like you guys. Like, if you say, for example, is the Mace Windu good enough? Some people will say yes. A lot of people will say no. We're all kind of hoping that maybe they still update that slightly. The Doc Ock is another example of that. A lot of people don't love that Doc Ock sculpt. We're all kind of hoping that they change it. Is it good enough to buy it? People will still buy it. I had that experience with Doc Brown the other day. Is it good enough? I've got it in my collection, but I kind of wish they'd updated it. With this, if we buy it because it's good enough and we don't ask for change, it's like, when do they know to create that change? When is like positively, right? We want to give folks feedback at Hot Toys without like mass bombing them with comments and just like negativity and criticism, but we also want to make sure that they hear us when we're like, it needs work. Right. So we also have to try and get our messaging straight as creators, but also just the collecting community of what is good enough and what's really not good enough and why. You know, so we can ask for that change.
And you know what? I see in the chat, the Leah Meyer actually makes a very good point.
Yeah, she asked. I was going to bring that up. She asked a really good question.
Very good point. Like, why? You know, what I don't understand is, why does, you know, Obi-Wan have to look 100% like, you know, Ewan McGregor? He doesn't look like that in Clone Wars. You're right. You're definitely right. So it's just the translation from animation to live action, and I think that's what we're getting hooked on is the simple fact that in live action, now mind you, live action, we have never seen him in this suit before, not once did we actually see that on any film, not even on Obi-Wan. Could we get a flashback in Ahsoka? Possibly, you never know, but. Maybe, and that could be something that they're ramping up for, is for us to see something like that because we know we will get flashbacks. But I think that's what we're focusing on is the simple fact that it is a translation into live action. So the expectation is for it to look exactly like Ewan McGregor.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is what we want. And they haven't gotten it completely right. But for what I see right here, I'm still going to get it because I think it's an incredible piece. Plain and simple. And I'm a Star Wars fan and I'll definitely rock out with it. And my concern has nothing to do with the sculpt, the tailoring, and nothing like that. My concern is them fucking ankles. I hope, in fact, like literally, bro, because it's the same damn ankles that you would get from any of the other clones and Rex. And I hate Rex's legs, bro. I can't stand them up without having a stand. It's just incredible. It's impossible right now. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a really good question, Natalia. I think basically what I would say is kind of like I'm seeing in the chat. They were going for a live action look of Obi-Wan here, clearly, and I think that's why we're expecting it maybe to be a little bit better than it is, because clearly it's meant to be Ewan McGregor. So if you're going to go for that look and not make it animated, go all the way in, which I think is what they've done. But it's just not. It's maybe like Ben said, a little undercooked, basically. Like it's like it needed a little more time in the oven.
Is it me? Is it me, Dean? Or does this? Okay, let me look. Let me look real quick. I'm looking real quick. If Will had hair,
so you think this could pass? You think this could pass as a WillFoxification head sculpt,
bro?
We just need to get this on. We need to get it derooted.
Right.
Derooted.
Right.
We need to deroot.
Easy to deroot.
Look at that shit.
I swallowed
I
hair piece.
I know, right? I need a hairpiece. Or give me a hairpiece that I can wear for sure. I actually do have one, but I've never worn it on the show. It's just a stupid wig from Amazon, that's it. Yeah, man.
What are you going to say, Dean, though?
Oh, I was going to say, in terms of the ankle problem, sounds like you need some Collecting Weekly joint juice.
Yo, somebody.
What a plug.
Who somebody showed that the other night, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we did a small run of this stuff. Zach might have a couple more, but
because
whenever you have like loose joints on a figure, you just hit it. Honestly, I think it's just like floor varnish.
Yeah.
And it helps stiffen up joints. It's pretty good.
Don't dish out the secret recipe, bro.
I think we were on. I think it was on LWO, and who was on there who had some. Someone had the juice, like had that juice that y'all had.
This is the first I've seen it.
Yeah, I forget who it was though. But it was that and Kiki. Dope. Somebody was talking about the Kiki.
Mario.
Mario or Marco. Marco might have done it.
Marco. It was Marco. It was Marco. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, we got to move to the next topic, but before we do, we're gonna get to Ash Chase, Leo. Ash Chase, bro. It's no Matt Damon. So it's Ash Cheeks or Ash Chase. Are you saying basically that this sculpted Ewan McGregor / Matt Damon? Is that what you mean? Because if so, it doesn't look like Matt Damon to me. So I will say it looks more like Ewan McGregor than Matt Damon. That said, Matt Damon figure would be pretty cool.
Ewan Damon.
Ewan Damon is funny.
Yeah, well, anyway, I'm going to move on to the next one. So InArt Aragorn, guys, we got to talk about this. And my question more so is InArt starting to win collectors over? Because like you guys all mentioned, okay, the reason I'm bringing this up is exactly pretty much what just happened, right? We were talking about the Hot Toys Obi-Wan, and then suddenly we start talking about Aragorn, right? So that's kind of my point. I think they clearly got people's attention. So and that's the thing with Aragorn, with Pennywise, with Joker, with Gandalf, with Batman. They all came out pretty damn good. This Aragorn has got to be the best one they've done so far as prototypes go. Because damn, that right there is
this prototype. The first one they showed was terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible, Dean, but it wasn't that great. It was like
pretty bad.
It was like a solid like 7.5 or an 8. But for real, I would say with this Aragorn, guys, my question would be, is InArt starting to win people over, win collectors over? Because I know there was a lot of skeptics, and there still are, for people that want to see these products in hand before we, crown them the victor of quality or whatever like that. And I totally understand that. And I don't think anyone's doing that. I think we're all just really excited about a really seemingly high-end product that should be hopefully reaching us in the Joker soon. And then, of course, these prototypes we've seen for the other figures. So I think it's okay and it's reasonable to be excited about something that looks really good. That's totally fine, I think. It's also important to be skeptical, but at the same time, I think it's important to remain excited because that's what makes collecting fun. We're excited about new things. We're excited about innovations. We're excited about quality. Things that, make us connect to the characters. That said, is InArt starting to win collectors over? And Leia, I'll start with you here. These prices, $480 for an Aragorn for a premium version with rooted hair, some, die-cast accessories, stuff like that. Are they starting to win people over and sort of, convincing maybe the people that were a little more hesitant and skeptical to jump in?
So while you were just now talking, what I did was I pulled up a picture of Viggo Mortensen, like from Lord of the Rings. Like I have it right here in front of me. I'm looking at that one and I'm looking back at this one. I'm looking at both of them simultaneously, bro. Like if you're looking at this figure right now, bro, like literally anyone who's looking at this figure, if no one ever knew that this was a figure and you showed this to someone, they'd be like, oh yeah, Viggo Mortensen from Lord of the Rings. And if I told you that this was, if they would have probably thought it was a movie still, they'd have been like, yeah, that's a movie still. I'm like, no, this is a figure. Oh no, you're bullshitting. This is that's how good this looks. And I think that they were 100% confident around this product when they actually revealed it. If this doesn't win you over, I don't necessarily know what will. If you don't have confidence that they can produce this product, despite all this, about the fiasco with Joker and the shipping prices and all that other shit, we're talking about the figure in general. This sumbitch is one of the best figures that I have ever seen in life. Literally, when it comes to a head sculpt. It literally is, bro, when I look at that head sculpt. Now, when I was talking earlier about not every figure is 100%, I wasn't talking about the head sculpt. I was looking at the tailoring on the suit. There were certain things that could slightly be better, in my opinion. But that head sculpt is fucking 100%. That's one of the dopest I've ever seen. You know what I mean? So, again, if this doesn't win a person over, if you can't see that, and again, it's going to be now. I know one person that never went over, but we're not talking about that. But
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I basically think that this by far is one of the dopest head sculpts I've ever seen, bro. Like literally, when my girl can't stop talking about it. And the thing is, I told her I'm not getting it. Like I'm literally not getting it. But she keeps talking about it, and I'm like, fuck. But I'm still not getting it. You know what I mean? Like she loves it. She's like, yo, this is an excellent piece. She was like, yo, this is amazing. Literally, I think they easily won a lot of people over. And you know why I'm so hype about this piece, bro?
Yeah, man.
2 reasons. One, because I can't wait to get the Batman figure in, because I know that's going to be incredible. I have the all-in version on that, so that's going to be incredible.
100%, dude.
Yeah.
Wait until they do Gal Gadot's
Yep, and they are
Wonder Woman. Bro, I am buying that shit right off the back. I'm not doing any payment plans. I'm buying that fucker. I might even buy 2. That's how beautiful I know it's going to look, because I have the full confidence that they can pull it off. Anybody who's a Batman fan, anybody who's a Dark Knight Rises fan, knowing that we're going to get a version of the DX19, that's amazing. They have my full confidence, because you can tell that they put so much pride in this. And you know what? Even when we talk about this figure, bro, and we look back at the Joker, what they promised us, they definitely delivered with that Joker, bro. From what I'm seeing, even with the head sculpt, everything. So it from prototype to production, in my opinion, there's not much of a difference at all. They nailed it to me. I think they killed it, and I think they're going to do the same thing here, in my opinion. So if they didn't win you over, I don't know what else will when it comes. Even though I'm not getting this piece, I don't know what else is going to win you over, because I think they killed it.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting this layout. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, bro. And I cannot wait for this. And again, at the end of the day, like there's so many layers to this, I guess you could say. But as far as InArt goes, they have to deliver on these, because doing the opposite would literally be committing like companies' business suicide. Like it absolutely makes no sense for them to not deliver on the product they have marketed to you, because then that fucks over their entire company. Like,
Yeah, it
why would they
does.
do that? And then also fucks over their statues, because then people are like, well, I don't trust Queen Studios or InArt if they're not delivering what
Yeah.
they're marketing. And it doesn't make any sense for this whole conspiracy theory to be like, they're not going to deliver XYZ. Like, maybe the figures suck ass, but I highly doubt it, because with how good their, with how good their statues have been, and with how good that Joker has looked from Joao and, other reviewers in China look like, I just think it's not really logical to think that they would not deliver.
Hey, Will, if you put Dean's hair on Ben, he'd probably look.
Yeah, pretty much, bro. Dean has the same facial
I'll
hair
take
as
it.
Vigo, too.
Hair and
I'll
all
take
that.
So
Beagle Thomas.
that's a good segue to Dean. So Dean, what do you think, bro? I mean, with InArt, has InArt won you over? Do you think they're starting to win over collectors? Because I can tell. I mean, we got 182 in the chat right now, and I can tell you a decent amount of those people are here to talk about this Aragorn. So what do you think, Dean?
Yeah, so I know when they first announced the Joker, I was very skeptical. I was like, yeah, this looks great, but how many times have we seen a really good prototype and a company not deliver, especially InArt, who is brand new to 6 scale. And then I saw Joao's unboxing video.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. They delivered
Yeah,
on
they did, bro.
everything that they promised.
100%.
They talked a big talk, but they fucking walked the damn walk. So when this got shown the first time, not great. Now though, I think I might be with Liao when I'm saying this might be the best figure I've ever seen.
I think it is. I'm willing to say that. I think it's the best
Ever.
prototype head sculpt I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even best Aragorn. I'm talking best
Figure.
of anything.
I'm with you,
anything,
Dean.
bro.
I'm willing to say that too.
I have never seen anything like this, bro.
No, even like the photos of like just the figure like standing there. I thought it was like test photos for the movie.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's Vigo trying out the outfit, because they
Yeah,
do
bro.
look like that. Those test
Yeah.
photos, and yeah, it's like I got to question that now. It's like, wait, is that a figure or is that Vigo?
Bro, do you think that they showed him that figure, bro?
I hope so, bro. I
Oh,
hope Vigo
dude, I
saw it and
hope
was like,
so.
holy shit.
I hope he ends up with this one. Honestly.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
but now I would have 100% confidence ordering this, expecting this figure. With what they've done with the Joker. The Gandalf,
bro.
that's yet to be seen, but that one has looked phenomenal.
I missed out on that one.
I think even if this figure was like 60% less good than it is now, it's still like 100% better than any other 6 scale Aragorn we've gotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So the fact that it's this good, every part of me will always be hesitant on a prototype. That's never going to change. But just from what we've seen with the Joker, I would have zero issues pre-ordering this like right now.
Yeah. Bro.
I don't personally, and I love Lord of the Rings, but I don't personally want to go in on a line with that big of a cast at these price points.
Yeah.
So I'm not personally ordering this, but it's taking everything in me not to, if that makes sense. I mean, this is probably the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, bro.
And yeah, I think a lot of people are like me. I think a lot of people are skeptical, and now that they're seeing that, they have no issue delivering what they promised, I think a lot of people are like, okay, now you got my money.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people who didn't order the Gandalf because they were like, well, Joker's still not out. I don't know what to expect. But now people are know what to expect, and a lot more people are jumping on board. So
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh, they're going to take over Hot Toys. They're going to take over Hot Toys. I don't necessarily think that's the case because the price points are so different. I mean, when Hot Toys is a budget option, that's kind of fucking funny, but I I think, yeah, they're kind of like two totally different markets, I think. But dear Lord, this is incredible.
It is. And I will say though, as far as like for maybe the people that are still a little bit nervous about this, like if you pre-order this from Kit, it's a $50 deposit. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, you don't want to lose $50, but if you lost $50, I mean, in this game that we play, the collecting game, that's really not a lot of money in the whole grand scheme of things for the amount of money we spend.
I just spent $50 on Church's Chicken.
Yeah, exactly, bro. That's what I'm saying. That's all it takes to pre-order this figure. If this figure comes out shitty, then you could just cancel it. Yeah, you lost the $50. I mean, I mean, look, like I highly doubt it's very improbable that happens. But if it did, for example, you lost $50. But if you pre-order it and you get something really, really fucking good, then you gained a lot more than that. And for
and if you don't pre-order it and then you want it, you're gonna have to spend even more.
And we're gonna talk about
money.
that, Dean, because this does. I mean, at least for Kit, it has a 3-day pre-order window. So what's up, Leo?
Well, can you, if you don't mind, can you send me that link?
Which one, to the Aragorn?
Yeah, the Aragorn.
Yeah, bro. I'll send you my code too.
Just real quick.
I'll send it to you in the private chat.
I'm not gonna get this, but send me the link anyways.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get it. Just send me the link, just in case. Like if
Toya probably messaged you. She was like, "You getting this shit?"
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if she, I might get it for her just in case.
Oh, see, there you go. Everyone needs a Vigo in their collection. But Ben, what do you think, bro? By the way, guys, you can still use this. My code InArtWill you can use for $10 off this. So if you want to get it from Kit, you can do that. So
you can get it for $40.
Yeah, see, there you go. Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. Well, I think it's maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a $60 deposit and it's $50 with the code, but still you're taking $10 off. So maybe that's why. But still $50, right?
Well, now it's too expensive. Now
exactly. Well, I can't do it now. I mean, Dean's like, I got to buy my chicken. I can't fucking do it. So, but Ben, what do you think, bro? Is InArt starting to win over collectors? Because I mean, like I said, I know there's a lot of people. Anytime we talk about InArt, people want to talk about it.
Dude, the answer is 100% yes. I have not received so many messages lately about a figure that has been like, Ben, please talk me out of getting these figures. Find a way to tell me what I need to hear to not hit the pre-order button, because damn. Even Marco16Fix today, he messaged me even, and he's like, the guy's a seasoned collector at this point. He's got an amazing collection behind him, and he and I share the same feeling for these films. We have a great affection for them, but I wouldn't even necessarily put Lord of the Rings in my top 10 films of all time. Yeah. And so, I know it hurts. I'm never invited back.
No, I get it.
But, like if somebody walks into my collection room, I think the thing for me is that I want it to be a representation of who I am, what really means something to me. And that a company has won you over when you start looking at a figure and you're considering spending this kind of money on something that you don't necessarily want initially, but you're like, I almost can't justify feeling like I'm going to miss out on it. It's the maximum type of fear of missing out that I've had in a long time. And something that I said to Marco and something that I've had to consistently say to myself is, I don't feel like I need it, but it is amazing. InArt is they're just getting started. They're just getting started. I'm excited to see a Christian Bale Batman. I'm excited to see what they do with a Black Adam. I'm excited to see what they do with maybe a Daenerys Targaryen. There's a few out there that I'm like, oh, if they can do Aragorn this well, that Daenerys, she may be the best Daenerys we've ever seen. And Game of Thrones, that's a line that I would want to potentially collect from. Like Dean said, it's daunting to start collecting from a cast that is as large as the Lord of the Rings cast. And there's multiple films in that movie franchise. So there's a good chance we'll still see potentially a Gandalf the White down the line and some of their costuming from the other films, as well as even if they just stuck with this film, we know we're going to get a Legolas soon, maybe a Gimli. What if we got a Sauron? What if we got the Hobbits? Dude. Like all of a sudden you're at a 5K collection and you're like, holy cow, I didn't even intend to buy one figure from Lord of the Rings and now I got like a whole series. And that's if they only give us a handful of, as I said, the cast that they possibly could give us. So yes, they've started to win me over. I think that they've started to win the community over for sure. But I also would say that as, a content creator like we are, as excited as we are for this, if it's not for you, don't buy it, because there are going to be some other figures I think that these guys deliver on. InArt seems to be going the more quality versus quantity route, at least for now. And that's what I was saying earlier, what I would have liked to see from Hot Toys. If we're getting that from them, I'm cool with the price being a little bit higher if every figure they give us is really, really dialed in. And it's going to make me really excited for the future to see what they have, while I also salt and pepper my collection with Hot Toys. I'm never going to go away from Hot Toys, I don't think. But
Right.
InArt, they have our attention. Absolutely. And this thing is amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's one of those, even for layout, it's like you have my curiosity, but now you have my attention. I think that's what this Aragorn is, bro. It's like a lot of people felt like that because their other prototypes are really, really, really good, but this one just took it a step higher. This one was like,
I'm gonna tell you though.
What's up?
If InArt decides to do, there's one figure that I want them to do from this line, and I've been talking about it and it's weird. If they do a Galadriel, bro,
and
I'm in. I'll do it. I'll get that. I'll get that figure, bro. I don't know why what it is about that character in the film that was just so enticing. But again, if they did her, I would probably go in on that. And here's the thing: is it's like I'm wondering, like, because you said that, and I think John didn't he say that they didn't have so far plans on completing the Fellowship. I'm wondering if they might, if the responses that they get off this, I'm wondering if they might change their mind, bro.
Yeah, because I think this is selling pretty well from what I've seen. So, yeah. Maybe, Leo. Maybe because and maybe it's cheap to make a Frodo, and But I like Ben mentioned, the one I've always been the most excited for is Legolas, because I think if they do Aragorn this well, I think they're gonna fucking crush Legolas. I think
they were talking
Legolas
about that on the show today. That's what everybody was saying.
Yep, I think when they drop, and Legolas is on the Phase 1 list, Leo. So Legolas is supposed to come out or be announced sometime this year, right? So same with Daenerys, same. They had Mirror on there. I'm not so sure they do that one anymore. I think that
Ring Wraiths too, didn't they?
They had a ring wraith. Yep, Dean, I would be in for that too. And I was talking to Carlos about that. Like, how much would they charge for a ring wraith? I think like probably $250. Like Asmus charged $200. Maybe they charge $250 or something. It doesn't have a face.
I have the Asmus one. It's not very good.
Right, exactly. InArt has a big a big void to fill in the market.
Like for a figure that's all clothing, I can't pose that thing for shit. It's so bad.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I was going to get that one, Dean, at one point, but I was like, I didn't like what I saw.
I'll sell you mine for cheap.
Nah, bro, fuck that. I'll just wait for the InArt one. That was wait for that.
Yeah.
But guys, great thoughts on that one. We're going to continue that conversation. But before we do, we want to talk to our super chats here. Mr. Joe Geisha, thanks so much, bro. They've easily won me over. I'd rather go for a premium product than something that makes me go, it's good enough. Also keeps my collection smaller. That's a really good point. So you're spending a little bit more, but you're keeping it smaller at the end of the day because you're going for quality over quantity, which is what we've said we want Hot Toys to do. But, they have their reasons why they can't. They got a lot of licenses with Star Wars and Marvel to cover, and, makes sense. So they got a lot of shit. I mean, Marvel and Star Wars pumping out a lot of content. So, and then you got all the old content. So, yeah, thanks so much, bro, for that one. Appreciate it. Sorry to Sal Collects. The only reason I justified this price is because the Asmus is going for 300 plus already. Wow. Okay. That's true. So then at that point, you're barely paying, if you got the sculpted version, then you're barely paying more than that anyway. It's like what, $335 shipped for the sculpted version? That's basically what Bo-Katan costs you. So, I mean, that's the thing. If you're getting that Aragorn sculpted hair, die-cast accessories, a badass magnetic base, you're basically paying what you paid for Bo-Katan out the door, shipped. So, I mean, that's and not saying she's not a great figure. She is, but that Aragorn is just insane, bro. And guys, I want to continue on this trend a little bit. How do we feel about pre-order windows? Because this is something that I feel like might be controversial just because of what happened with the first Joker, with the Joker, the Dark Knight version, the first figure they did. Because with that one, it was a 3-day window. They reopened the window. With this one, I haven't been able to get in touch with John about this yet. So I'm really not sure whose rule this is. I know as far as Kit goes, Kit has a 3-day pre-order window for this. So I think it ends either tonight at midnight or tomorrow at midnight. And it ends soon, right? It's a 3-day window. So how do we feel about this with InArt? Do we care? Because the last time some people felt a little bamboozled, like they thought they were getting something exclusive, then it wasn't. I don't know if there's a retailer thing, like I said, but how do we feel about this in general, Leo? What do you think?
I mean, if they
do you care at all?
I don't really care, to be quite honest, but I mean, I can see where it be cause for concern. Because the thing is, it's like, what if you're, you pre-order this figure within that window, but say, for instance, you did it was an impulse, type of situation based on the simple fact that you didn't think it was going to be available. You know what I mean? And maybe that $50 was the only $50 you actually had to last for a week until you got paid. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's when it's cause for concern, especially if you do that and then you see there's another run, or there's an open, or they open a window back up to get more pre-orders. You know what I mean? That's when I think it becomes a concern and it becomes a problem. You know what I mean? Again, I've always, erred on the side that I don't even think they should do these 3-day windows. Literally, I can understand why they do, but just, I don't know. Just say that there's a limited quantity or something like that. You have to get in and whatever. I would actually take that a bit more. But a 3-day window, it's like, can we believe that there's an actual 3-day window, especially when you have that, but then you have companies like a Toys Wonderland that will put these figures back up and they're still available. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm like, you know what? I don't know if that's valid at that point. And for somebody who, again, isn't, as financially stable at this point, you're just dropping $50 on something like that. I don't know. It could be a problem. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so too, bro. And for me, yeah, that's why I asked John. I was like, hopefully he can answer me and I can give some clarity to people. I'm like, why would you guys put this on a 3-day window, considering what happened last time? Maybe it wasn't them, so I don't know. But Dean, what do you think, bro? Do you take any issue with the 3-day window? Do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Leal. Leal, sorry, I don't know why I said it like that. About the it's just a very short amount of time to maybe come up with the money. I know $60 probably isn't a lot for most people, but sometimes shit happens.
Right.
Got a flat tire, you had a fucking medical expense, something, some shit always, right? Life finds a way. So I think 3-day windows are very annoying. I think it'd be nicer to have maybe like a couple months. Right. And I understand there is a need for a window, because if you just leave it open, then, I don't know. I guess that's bad. I actually don't see a problem with just leaving it open. I mean, you could you could pre-order Hot Toys up until they come out, So I guess it keeps it limited, which, is probably the goal. But I mean, that just seems like such a short amount of time to. It's like, hey, guess what? Surprise. I mean, we just saw that with the Asthma Scanned Off the White. And that figure just came out. It wasn't even a pre-order. It was like, it's out. And then you had like a second to buy it before it sold out. I was like, what? Where am I supposed to come up with that kind of money? So, yeah, it's a little, I think it's very annoying, but like, I also get it. That's my point.
Yeah.
I could take it or leave it, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think that's the common sentiment. What do you think, Ben?
I don't hate it. I think one of the challenges I've had is not knowing what the rules of engagement always are, especially when you're looking at multiple companies for these types of pre-orders. I'm okay with the pre-order window, whether it's 3 days or, like Dean said, like give it a month or two. If they were going to give us that window, though, I'd like to see them give us more of like a batch or like collection size number, like an edition size. There's 5,000 being made. Here's your 2-month window. We're letting you now, maybe 3 weeks before the window opens. Like, advertise your window, stick to your window, give us an edition size, and close the window. We'll recognize that resellers might still be able to get their hands on this and sell it again, even if the collecting window closes from the official site. Fine, we can understand that. But I've had the same issue even with Star Trek figures or X06 figures. They just had their Kirk release from the motion picture and their Spock from the motion picture recently come out. And they didn't tell us how many they were going to make. They didn't tell us exactly when the window was opening. And then within like 6 hours of the window opening through X06, it was gone. Like 3 hours, all the figures were sold out. Other companies have started getting them, and collectors are getting notices to say, sorry, your orders being refunded, we didn't get as many as we expected. And so again, like, the rules are not very clear. I think if InArt's going to stick with the pre-order window, just again, give us at least an approximation of how many you're going to make, and then that be it. Keep it limited, because I think you mentioned it, Will, that you had somebody streaming with you the other day, who I can't remember who it was, but they were saying they're a retailer, and they were saying that they had cancellations after the Joker window opened back up again, because they didn't feel like it. Spec, because they didn't feel like it was limited anymore. And like, I can appreciate that. There are collectors that'll buy if something is limited and the rules of engagement are clear. But when we get kind of mixed messaging and stuff like that, that's what ends up being frustrating. So I think we've all been feeling a little burned on this. I know with the Joker, again, I was up till about 2:30 in the morning that first 3-order window day, trying to decide if I was going to justify $1,000. Like that's, or like 1,500 Canadian once I get it in hand. Like that's a lot of money for figures. I felt this great pressure to press the button, even though at that time I wasn't totally financially ready to make that commitment. And I did anyways, because it's my favorite character. And then that window opened back up again, or perceivably, and people felt burned by it, including myself. So make the rules really clear, stick to the rules. If you're going to do that, I think it'll be a better experience, and people will know, you know, for themselves if they want to justify it in their collection otherwise.
Right. And I think it might even take maybe a post from InArt clarifying whether the 3-day window is them or whether it's the retailers or what the deal is. Because I think some people, like you said, Ben, are confused. And I think maybe they're concerned about the Joker because that one got reopened and then they don't really trust InArt. And it's like, you know, I think you got to be careful. That said, look at the articulation on this figure because damn, like
Right.
I know it's a total side note, but I look at this photo layout, you're going to be happy if you get this, bro, because look at how you compose this
Posing
thing.
master,
Like,
100%.
Yeah, there's
It's
a lot that
amazing.
you can do. There's definitely a lot that you can do. You know, when to speak. The only question I would actually have with it again, because we know that was addressed even with Joao, is the magnetic base. And you know what you would have to, because again, we know that you know it's stationary in the middle of the actual stand. So you know, articulation wise, I don't know what you would try to accomplish, but this piece, I mean, it looks so good. Like it really, really, really does. In my opinion, it's well worth it, man. It is.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. I just think it's pretty remarkable. That said, I want to ask you guys another question here. And I know Dean was excited about this one because he sent me some information before we even started the show. So that's why I kind of want to start with Dean on this one. Dean, if you want to go first, do you typically buy the deluxe or premium version? Because we could talk about this Aragorn, we could talk about statues, we could talk about hot toys. I think there's something to be said, Dean, about buying the deluxe version in most cases because they tend to hold their value a little bit better. So for whatever reason you need to move on from a figure at some point, then you can do that. For me, I had a lot of messages for this specific Aragorn. People asking, should I get the rooted hair? I'm worried about rooted hair. I'm like, guys, buy nice or buy twice. That's the rule. And I tend to believe that. And I think that InArt rooted hair is not the same as Hot Toys. It's not going to act the same. It's not going to look the same. I think it's going to be far superior, in my opinion, just based on what their statues are like. So that's what I'll say. That said, buying the deluxe, it's an interesting conversation. What do you think, Dean? Do you typically buy the deluxe or recommend people buy the deluxe or premium versions?
Yeah, I think it depends on what exactly you're buying. I think in terms of statues, always just spring for the deluxe. Especially with statues, the price increase is usually maybe like $100 to $200 more. And you know, when you're spending $2,000, that's really not that much more. So, yeah, for me, I usually spring for the deluxe. Now, when it comes to a figure like this Mando you just pulled up, I feel like you could go either way. Because if you don't buy the deluxe and you really want one of the accessories, you can just buy the accessory for, you know, $20-$40 second hand, whether it's eBay or Toy Anxiety or wherever. Or if you do buy the deluxe and you don't care for the accessories, then you make some money back, sell that stuff for, you know, $40. So I always think it's better to buy the deluxe. Spring for the little extra, as long as it's not a base. A lot of the Spider-Mans we're seeing, it's just a base.
Right.
And it's like, I guess, but I really don't use bases in my display anyway. I guess maybe if they're cool looking, like with the Doc Ock arms, that's one thing. But if it's actual tangible accessories, I say go for, or head sculpts, go for the deluxe. If it's just a base, just save the money.
Yeah, and I get what you mean. And Leo, I brought this one up because I know you and I have been thinking the same on this figure. We've been thinking about not getting the deluxe because it's just Boba Fett parts, right?
Yeah.
But typically I tend to be more of a deluxe guy. Where do you fall on this, Leo? Because I'm conflicted on this one.
Well, for this version, because me particularly, I don't need the accessories. I mean, I didn't need the additional accessories. All I mainly wanted was the head sculpt, the dark saber, the spear. That's it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
knowing that you can actually get that with the regular version, for me, I'm fine with it. I don't need all the excess accessories, because I know I'm not going to use it. I think it just depends on what you're going to use, what you're going to need it for. I don't have the speeder bike. I have no plans on getting that bike. All I wanted was mainly just the figure, the head sculpt, so on. So for this, I just went with the regular version, and I passed on the deluxe because I don't need it personally. I think it comes down to personal preferences and personal choice, what you need it for. When it comes to this, though, when you're looking at the rooted versus the sculpted, I mean, they both, like, literally, I had a hard time telling the difference between at some point. You know what I mean? Because they both look good. I think if you want to go all in on the deluxe version of it, that's completely fine. If you choose to get the sculpted, I think both. What I'm looking at, it's not the hair more so, it's just the head sculpt, and I just think it looks phenomenal. I mean, just the expression, the head sculpt in general, without really paying so much attention on whether it's sculpted or whether it's rooted. Because I think you're gonna win either way. If I had to lean more towards it when it comes to this particular figure, I would probably say rooted, because of the simple fact that, I mean, you're getting the most realistic version of this figure. It's like a shrunken down Viggo Mortensen. So it definitely makes sense to do that versus just, a sculpted hair version. But I'm saying that to also say that if you choose to go sculpted, it's still a win-win, because you're getting an excellent piece. Plain simple.
I'm with you, bro. And Leo, it is a win-win for sure, bro. I mean, because one of the things I guess that I believe, and this is interesting because everyone's going to be different how they fall on this, but I would say that one of the rules I put in my Hot Toys beginner's guide, actually, that I just put out, was buy the best that you can reasonably afford. So if you think that, Aragorn is within your reach here at $470 compared to $335, to spend a little bit of extra money to get the rooted, I just feel like it's a far superior figure. Like the sculpted one looks great, no doubt about it, but I feel like you're settling when you could not be settling, and maybe you could have one less figure, save a little bit more money, and get this one. So that's that's just how I tend to view it. Again, none of us are rich here, trust me. But I'm saying at the end of the day, like if you can prioritize a little bit and get the best that you can reasonably afford, at the end of the day, you're going to be happier, because what might happen, like I think like Dean referenced, maybe you get the sculpted and you see all these people that got rooted and you're like, damn, now I got to go buy the rooted one. And that's the rule of buy nice or buy twice, where you could have just bought the nice one to start with, but now you're buying it twice. So,
good point.
But again, the sculpted one looks great, and I think the people who got the sculpted Joker are going to be happy too. I just think when you have the sculpted Joker and then you look at the rooted Joker, it's just like, man, like there's a difference, right? And I think they're going to nail it here. But Ben, where do you kind of fall on this one, man?
It depends on the figure, and it depends on what the deluxe versus the premium really comes with, or the standard versus deluxe. So a good example of that, the Doc Brown I got recently. I got the deluxe because I wanted that plutonium case. I feel like for that figure, that suit that he's wearing, it needed the plutonium case standing next to him.
Bro,
you disagree?
Will you see who's in there?
No, I know, Ben. He see Toya in the chat. Toya's in the chat trying to egg Leo on. He needs this Aragorn, bro. He's gonna need Gandalf soon.
You're gonna order it by the end of the stream.
He's got the code. I mean, I got the code, so if you need it. But.
Not to drag Ben through the mud, but bro, if you're paying extra for cardboard, bro.
Hey now. But then you look at some of the Star Wars Deluxe features, and they come with like a plastic hologram, which would likely stay in the box. Which would likely stay in the box for me as well.
That's true.
But then I look at some of the InArt figures, for example. So I've got the Batman on order from InArt, but I chose like the standard edition sculpted hair version of his head sculpt, because for me, that Batman is going to stand in my collection with his cowl on, likely not the Robert Pattinson face. So I'm okay with the standard version because it gives me everything I want out of the display that I'm going to use that figure for with that standard. So I think I agree with you, buy nice or buy twice. I love that saying because I think that's 100% accurate. On the other hand, those little extra bits of dollars do start to add up slowly over time, especially if it's for accessories that are going to sit in your storage room and not be on display. If it's just going to sit in the box, I would save the money and then put that towards another figure, because there's a lot of stuff that I want right now. There's a lot of cool things out there. It's a good time to be a collector. I need all the money that I can get for all of the things that I want. So I have to be pretty strategic about what I buy. I think the only caveat to that would be if I bought a figure and thought that there's a good chance that I might sell it down the line. Oftentimes the deluxe version has a better resale value. Right now, resale values aren't very good, but at least traditionally, when it comes to 6 scale marketplace, the Deluxe sells for more, even if it's literally just a plastic hologram sitting in the box. That word Deluxe does play into that. I don't typically sell the figures that I get. Once it's in the collection, I intend to keep it. So that doesn't play a factor for me, but I gotta recognize there's lots of different types of collectors out there.
Well,
Sure.
Deluxe is kind of like a buzzword. It's kind of like organic food, right? That's the
100%.
example I always give. You see organic, you're like, oh shit, I want that. And you'll pay a little bit more for it, right? It's like same with the Deluxe. But you are right, Ben. Like when you go to sell something later, say something comes up, like Dean said, you have a hospital, visit or something, right? That Venom exclusive with the tiny little Venom head was going for a hell of a lot more with that version compared to just a regular version. So it's crazy what people will pay for. So that Deluxe, people
churro
just
Spider-Man.
yeah, it came with a little churro.
churro.
That was it.
Man,
like, and it's
crazy.
just, people will want that. And if it doesn't have the churro, they're like, nah, I don't want it. It's like they're not gonna use the churro. So Riley might, Carlos might, but that's about it. But it's interesting. That's why Deluxe is always an interesting conundrum. I feel like it's very tough one, but it's dependent upon the figure, no doubt about it. I want to ask a question to you guys though. Number one posing tip. And Lael did a great live stream today. And I want to share a little bit of that, just kind of showcasing what can be done with some of these figures here. This is cheating ass Dan right here. But
Yeah.
number one posing tip for Hot Toys collectors. So Lael, I do want to start with you on this one. You're the master of posing, bro. You can teach all of us something. I know Dean's pretty good. Ben's pretty damn good too at his posing.
Yeah.
But with me, I try to keep it character, simple poses, right? Lael, what would you think is the number one posing tip as someone who's really good at this? What would you pass along to people?
I would actually say my number one rule for myself is see it before you do it. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is like have foresight, like actually see the future, have a vision for it, have a vision for what you're trying to accomplish before you do it. You know what I mean? And I say that specifically because of the simple fact that, sometimes you may try something, it may not work. You know what I mean? It may not, you might try it, you might have an idea for it, but you got to you got to pose within reason, because you got to actually make sure that you are honoring the integrity of the figure. Sometimes it may not reach that level of what you're trying to accomplish. You might run the risk of damaging the figure. So make sure it is a figure that notably is something that you can see. Like, for instance, I'm not going to pose a Joker like Spider-Man. It's not going to happen. Two totally different figures. We've never seen that type of movement. Spider-Man is going to be totally different. Also, you want to watch the material of the figure. You know what I mean? So basically, I say like envision it, have an idea before you try to actually capture that pose or that, because again, it's not going to always. You got to keep in mind it's not going to work. Make sure that you're looking at the tailoring on the piece. If it's fragile, if the accessories are fragile, you always want to actually honor that first. Make sure it is a figure within reason, because like I said, you got to think realistically. Am I going to be able to accomplish this? Is it going to be something that's going to work for me? You know what I mean? So Dan, when you look at this particular pose with Dan, he used gravity against itself. He was distributing the weight between two figures. He had her positioned in a way where she can hold the weight and maintain it. She had him, or he had him actually posed up in a way that, again, it just complemented that. You're distributing weight between two particular figures where, you don't have them, really fighting against each other when it comes to weight and stuff like that. So, but just make sure that you're posing within reason. Don't do something that's outlandish where you're going to damage the integrity of the figure. Then you're going to be like, you know what? It wasn't worth it. I have a figure that's meaningless at this particular point. Just think realistically and don't always it's one of those things that when we do certain things, it's like, don't try this at home unless, you're daring type of situation, because I know half these figures you're not supposed to do this shit with. But me, not once yet since I've been doing this have I broken a figure to the point was beyond repair or damaged the suit, because I know which figures to pose, which figures don't really like. You're not going to see me giving Dooku a backflip. I cherish that figure just too much. You know what I mean? He could do it, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? Again, within reason, and be really, really smart about it. These two particular figures. Again, I know, the extent of how I can push this particular figure. I know what I can do with these figures. I know what works. Taskmaster is very articulate. Black Widow, very articulate. You know what I mean? You can actually, like, the articulation is there for these figures. So I know that there's certain things that I can accomplish, but for a lot of people, you may not. So again, when I say see it before you do it, is see it and just say, well, am I going to be able to accomplish that with this figure? It's going to be questionable. Also, when you get that figure out the box, test the articulation, see what it can do, what it can't do. And also remember that character poses aren't really a bad thing, bro. Standard, like, museum poses aren't a bad thing, because you can pose a figure in a way that, again, like, if you look at, I'll give you an example real quick.
Is it Jen Urso? It's Jen Urso voice, isn't it?
Hell no.
I was gonna
I
say
didn't think you could hear me, Leo.
Ooh, Snow Speeder Luke.
Oh, hold on, Leo.
When you look at Snow Speeder Luke,
yeah,
that's just a standard walking pose.
100%.
dude,
You see that?
Nice.
That's standard. It's a museum pose. It's more like you could label this as a museum pose, but it's standard. You have him actually holding his helmet, and it's just him walking. It's not doing anything else. You're not damaging the integrity. You have it in a pose that it's almost considered neutral, but it's just him walking, and it gives your display presence. And that's it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to go much farther than that. You know what I mean? So again, just do it within reason, and make sure you're not fucking up your figure. That's plain and simple.
That's my thing, bro. Especially layout, like with Loki, for example, with the pleather parts. I'm gonna keep him in something pretty neutral, pretty unobtrusive, I guess I would say. But Dean, what do you think, bro? Like, if you as a poser, what's the number one posing tip you would give people?
Yeah, so one thing you want to look out for is like really subtle, what's the word? I guess like body language. Like the picture you had with the Mando kicking Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
Like it's not as simple as just putting a leg out, right? For the Mando.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his shoulders back. You could tell like his body weight is like into the kick. He's forcing his leg forward. It's throwing his arms back.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so natural looking, and you don't just get that. It's like, oh, I'm gonna pose him a kick. Well, a kick is not just a leg; it's the whole body.
Yeah, bro.
So really pay attention to body language and like little subtle things. Like even like the photo you have up here on the picture here. It's a mainly upper body pose, but even his feet are important.
Mm-hmm.
So his right foot that's closest to Bo-Katan, it's facing her, and maybe the weight is, when he's getting ready to, let's just say he goes to stab her, that weight is shifted to his back foot, so it needs to be planted like perpendicular to her. So you really just have to pay attention. It's hard to describe. I went to school so long. I was in art school, so we had to like look at that stuff when we did sketches,
Right.
Because it's not just the one, like, because I see so many people do that. They're like, pose my figure, and it's just like the arm is up. It's like, well, what about like this shoulder? You could dip it down. You could twist at the waist. You could, there's lots of little subtle cues. So to me, what you could do, find some like cool scenes from a movie and just take a screenshot and then try and replicate it.
That's a
with
really
your
good
figure.
one.
Or you do the pose, take a picture of yourself, and then you have a reference, right? That's kind of, what I do is you got to look at the body language of what people are doing.
Because like you said, Dean, even those, and I know Lael is really good with this, those subtle sort of movements in the hips or in like the shoulders or the hands, like it's so important to make it feel alive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to make it look like it's an actual little person on your
Right.
desk, not just a toy.
Because the way Dan's done this looks like a very natural movement for both of them. Looks like a very natural movement
Yeah,
for Mando
like
and for
her.
Bo-Katan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So that's amazing.
It's just little subtle things, man. It doesn't, you don't have to, you don't have to like just throw your figure in a pose that just it looks kind of crazy and kooky. Like even like when like this one for Lou, when I look at this, again, it's within reason, and he knows what he can do with Spider-Man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Again, that figure is completely, it's highly articulate. You can articulate this figure in so many different poses, in so many different ways. But again, it's, posing is all about bringing presence to your display. You know what I mean? Bring that proper presence to your display. And again, like, this was amazing, like when he did it, because Dan is just good at that. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Absolutely, bro. Well,
Cheating
Ben,
ass
what
Dan.
about what about you? I know it's cheating.
It's Tina's Dan. That's his name.
Because Ben, I can share some of yours. I think that you sent me. Just some more like sort of character poses and just fun stuff.
Nice.
So and
See?
Dean's got the pup. Dean's got the pup
Yeah,
with him.
got Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin. Love to see it.
So what do you think, Ben? Like what tip would you give people?
So I would say especially if you're starting out, but even have been collecting for a little while and you're just really trying to work on posing, is master the art of the museum pose. I think you guys nailed it earlier when you said that, like, the human body rarely is in an extremely stiff, upright position. We always have a bit of a hunch. We always shift our weight to one foot just ever so slightly. Our wrists are always a little bit flicked, right? Like, there's always something in our body language, even when we're standing straight up and down, that looks more natural. I think if you start by mastering the museum pose, you can start to kind of work from there. So if you can show like the Batman, for example, Will, the Batman's a good example of a character who can't pose like very well. He's very restricted by his outfit. But I created this pose based on the scene where he's fighting Bane, where he's starting to get kind of exhausted. He drops his hands down at his sides with his fists out. And this is about that scene where he goes into tackle Bane like head first. But you can see that he's got his torso just ever so slightly twisted, his leg back slightly.
Yeah.
Classically, it's a museum pose for the figure for sure, but I can see the scene that's about to unfold in the intensity of just some of that body language. And then you move to that Mando pose, which was one that I did on Collecting Weekly's Pose Wars not too long ago. That's when you start getting into it a little bit more mastered in terms of like having the hand pulling back the helmet of the stormtrooper so you could see the blade going up under the other side, the gun starting to fall out, but just being balanced on that last finger as though he's dropping it out of his hand, right? Even the feet down at the bottom where like there's some tipping on the toes and stuff like that because he's being pulled up out of his shoes basically. But like I never got to poses like this at first. When I started collecting, it was very much standing them just up and down, very boring poses, and it was the master of that museum pose first. I think go with that and really focus on the source material like you guys are watching. There's always going to be lots of pictures of these awesome characters that we love to collect that you can copy a little bit from and watch some of these awesome posers like Lael and Iron Logan and Loco Lu and some of those guys who have started to really master the art of the dynamic pose as well, because it gives us a range of where we can start and where we can get to. But also, last thing, just be willing to take your time with it. It can get really frustrating if you got a pose in mind and you try and throw it into that pose and then it's just not working. It's easy to break wrists. It's easy to make some of those classic mistakes that then make you want to throw your figure across the room. I was listening to Lael talk about batteries in the Iron Man head the other day.
Yeah.
And like, but I've had those times where it, like, you just can't get the pose to work and it drives you nuts. Take your time. Have your water, have a drink, do whatever you need to do to just chill out and enjoy the process, because there's definitely a process when it comes to posing.
And I would say, like, even like you guys were referencing, the number one tip for me would be to keep it simple. At least to start, because that's what I do. Like Lael said, a lot of character poses. I tend to like those a little bit more. I have some dynamic poses depending upon the figure and the character. Like you said, Lael, you're not gonna have Dooku doing a backflip, right?
No.
But you certain characters where Spider-Man, it might make sense to have him in a backflip, right?
Yeah.
So it just depends. I
you'll
tend to be.
You'll find that some of the most realistic poses, like even the most realistic stationary poses, are the hardest poses to pull off, because you have to tweak the angle. You got to look at the human anatomy, how a person would stand, how they would walk. Subtle movements. Subtle movements are hard to capture, whereas you have these high intensity, poses, dynamic poses, because again, it's like someone just flying through the air, someone doing certain things, but just the natural stance and the pivot of a foot, the movement of a hand, the tweak of a head, whether or not you wanted to be side by side, tweak it slightly to a different way. those are harder because then you can see the nuances, but you can also, a person can call it out and be like, that's not how a person would stand or how a person would look. So
Right, exactly, bro. And it just like Leo, it's so important. It's dependent upon the character, right? The character, how
definitely.
what kind of pose is natural for them. And I tend to do what you guys all reference. For one, I'll take a look at the Hot Toys photos that they do, the blogger photos and the original release photos, the announcement photos rather. I'll look at those, see a pose that I like, and I'm like, okay, that looks pretty dope. I'm just gonna copy that, and then I'll try to just replicate it. Or sometimes the sideshow unboxings, Terry does really good poses, or maybe Leo, or posing with Peter, or someone will put a pose up, and I'll be like, damn, that looks really dope. I'm gonna copy that, right? That's you can totally do that. So I tend to do that quite often. I think that's a great place to start. I saw Toya in the chat, by the way, Leia. She said, I don't know how y'all are so comfy posing figures. I posed my armor and was afraid I was going to break her. Well, doesn't she have single jointed elbows? Isn't that why?
Yeah. She has single jointed elbows, the wrist pegs, stuff like that, but she did a good job for her first pose. She definitely did.
Yeah, she definitely did. But I tend to be the same, Toya, to be honest. When I pose my figures, I'm like, I'm going to break this shit. So I tend to be really careful. And stuff with pleather, stuff with skin tight suits like Black Panther or Spider-Man, I really don't push them to the limits. I really I'm very safe with them. So it's just, I think you want to be careful with that. I mean, you can do it, like you said, take a couple photos. Some of those suits rebound pretty well, but it's like, it still makes me nervous. So, I tend to be careful. So with Loki, got his hands down by his side, holding the scepter out, no stress on the joints, no stress on the leather parts, stuff like that. Same goes with Vader. So I tend to be more of a character pose guy. As long as it fits the vibe of the character, then I think you're good.
Totally.
So that's what I would say. All right, guys. Well, great show. I think we're going to wrap it there because we're pretty much right around the hour and a half mark once we do the outros. So with that said, thank you so much to this Avengers level panel for joining us. Thank you guys so much in the chat for joining us. Like I said, if you do want InArt Aragorn, take a look at 16kit. You can use my code InArtWill. I posted it in the chat. I'll post it again for you guys. I think the window's going to end tomorrow, but I'm not sure. Maybe it'll reopen. I really don't know, honestly. That said, thank you so much to the panel. Mr. Ben Thomas, dude, thanks so much for joining, bro. What's coming up on your channel?
Dude, thanks again for having me. I really appreciate it. The Ben Thomas Show, if you get an opportunity to subscribe, definitely appreciate it. I'm at 868 subscribers now, so we're getting close to the 1,000.
Nice.
It's been a good year push, but it's been fun. In terms of the channel, in terms of the content, I'm over 120 videos now. I'm focused a lot on Star Trek figures for sure, the Exo 6 stuff that's coming out. I put my my wish list of aliens that I'd like to see Exo 6 tackle down the line in terms of Star Trek aliens. So take a look there. And then, as I said to you guys kind of at the beginning, I've been setting up my recording studio in the Ben Thomas Show basement here. So there's going to be a Collection 2 or 2.0 coming to the channel here within the next month. So stay tuned.
Nice. Well, Ben, if you let me react to it, dude, I would love to.
I will 100% let you react to it. That's always fun to watch for sure. And then otherwise, if you don't already know, every Tuesday night, I'm always on the live show with the Collecting Weekly boys, Dean the Dream, and some of the other guys there. So definitely check that out on Tuesdays. Always a fun time.
Nice. Sounds like a blast, man. Well, Leia, what's coming up on the 1/6 scale, man? I know you've been doing a ton of live streams today, bro. What's coming up?
Man, hell. I mean, I think tomorrow, I believe tomorrow we got comic book talk with friends. We're going to discuss the latest, release runs, tips on, how to collect, how to, board and bag your books. We always do feature an artist, one of our favorite artists, and also a comic book run that they've actually tackled. So we do have those discussions as well. So tune in for that tomorrow, 9:15. Tuesday, I ain't doing shit. Wednesday is going to be Say What Wednesday, of course. We talk about, I don't know what's going to be released this week, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have some interesting discussions, whether it's going to be a review or a release. We'll talk about that. Thursday is Uncivilized Scoundrel, Star Wars talk as always, and Figure Flex Friday, of course. So yeah, and also Rise and Chai, definitely. So
nice.
Yeah, man. Definitely. Thanks for having me every week, man. I'm about to take my ass upstairs and watch a game or just sit back and chill, whatever. I don't know what. It was funny because while we were talking, I have Lord of the Rings in the background. People could probably see it through here.
Oh, nice. I didn't even see it yet.
Yeah, I'm actually, watching.
You're trying to get
right
yourself
now.
psyched for that Aragorn, bro.
I mean, that's the thing is I'm always looking because I want to compare to what I see. And like I said, I missed out on the Gandalf. That slipped by, but it is what it is.
You can still get it. So
No, don't say that.
it's still available. Kit has it. He put it back up for a couple of days. So
Yes,
and Todd has it.
Yeah,
So
stop playing.
see, we got to get Toya to jump in. See, get you to get that Gandalf, bro. But yeah, thanks for joining us always, Leo. And yeah, I will say, speaking of the game, great news on DeMar Hamlin so far. So super excited about that. That seems to be really positive and progressing nicely. So
he's up, he's up in Cognate right now.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I saw he made an Instagram post. He FaceTime with his teammates. Dude, it was a very scary situation. So I've never seen anything like that. But happy he's doing super well. Dean the Dream, thanks so much for joining, bro. What's coming up on Collecting Weekly?
Yeah, so we got a full week of content coming up. We got unboxing on Monday. I'm not sure what we're unboxing, but we'll figure it out. It'll be fun. Tuesday's our main show. Wednesday we got After Dark, where we just shoot the shit and talk about nothing important. Then Thursday it's our British correspondents talking about, collecting across the pond. Friday statue show, we're going to talk news and releases and all kinds of statue talk, so that's fun. And then Saturday, I'm not sure what we're doing Saturday. We'll probably do some gaming. We do
Nice.
some Grand Theft Auto
Flight
role-play
simulator
content. Dude, it's so funny.
Yeah, I know. I've seen that's fun.
Yeah, so got a full week of content for you guys over there. So come on by.
Cool. Well, guys, check out Collecting Weekly. Check out 1/6 Scale Man. Check out the Ben Thomas Show. Lots of great content going on over there. As far as this channel, there'll be some more collection tour reactions. There will be clips, as always, and some other content that I have in the works. I don't want to share just yet, but it's going to be pretty exciting, I promise. And yeah, be on the lookout for all of that and all the other videos. I probably did an Aragorn preview for those who want to watch that, get my full thoughts on that one. That said, guys, thank you so much for another live stream. I'll be back on Lael's on Wednesday. I will be on my show, Lights Camera Collect, every Friday at 5:30. Lael's is 9:15 on Wednesday, so I'll be there. I'll pop up here and there on some other ones. But other than that, guys, thank you so much. Have a good rest of the Sunday evening. We're 1 week away from The Last of Us. So,
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So
Is that
excited.
next
this is the
Sunday,
last
right?
Sunday without The Last of Us.
Dude, you
What
gotta
do you
bring
say,
me on
Sunday,
for that.
right?
Yeah, it's next Sunday. Yeah, it's next Sunday.
okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yep. Super excited, bro. I got to figure that out because I think it airs around the same time as Collectors Mingle, but I got to figure something out. I'll probably just do the show and then watch it after. But
You know
yeah,
you're gonna be
but-
too excited to do that stuff.
yeah, I'm super excited, bro. I cannot wait. So it's gonna be dope. And anyway, guys, check out The Last of Us on HBO Max next Sunday. Other than that, peace out. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye. See you. Bye.